Tonight is not an ordinary night in your life. This is the kind of night that divides what was from what will be. You have cried in private, endured confusion in silence, and carried questions you could not even explain to the people around you. Yet none of it has been wasted. Heaven has watched every hidden tear, every delayed answer, every closed door, and every moment you thought you were falling behind. What felt like abandonment was often divine separation. What looked like delay was often protection. What seemed like the end of your strength was the beginning of a deeper dependence on God. You are standing at the edge of a chapter that does not look like the pages behind you. The patterns that drained you will not control what God is about to write next. There is a reason your spirit has been restless. There is a reason you have felt the pressure increase right before this moment. When God is preparing to shift your life, your soul often senses movement before your eyes can confirm it. You have been in the tension between promise and manifestation, between prayer and fulfillment, between being overlooked and being called forward. But tonight, the Lord is reminding you that the story is not in the hands of those who doubted you. It is not in the hands of those who misunderstood your heart, minimized your calling, or tried to reduce your purpose to something small. The pen is in God's hand. The next lines of your life are not being written by fear, regret, or human opinion. They are being written by the one who knew you before the foundations of the earth. The Word of God declares in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" That is your warning and your invitation. Perceive it. Do not let familiarity blind you. Do not let exhaustion make you miss the movement of God. Do not keep speaking as if your future must obey your past. Something new is springing forth, and it is arriving with holy force. The chains on your confidence are breaking. The fog around your discernment is lifting. The chapter ahead carries clarity, restoration, and a level of divine momentum that will make you recognize why certain battles had to end and why certain people had to leave. You are not being erased. You are being revealed. You are not being buried. You are being planted for a harvest that will speak louder than your suffering ever did. If this word reaches your spirit, like this message, share it with someone who needs confirmation. Subscribe for the journey ahead, and comment 421 as your sign that you are ready to step into what God writes tonight. What you carried was never meaningless. The weight, the waiting, the rejection, the silent ache of being misunderstood all served a purpose greater than what you could see while you were living through it. You thought you were just surviving difficult seasons, but God was training your spirit beneath the surface. Every time you held yourself together when no one noticed, endurance was being built in you. Every time you kept your heart from becoming bitter after disappointment, your character was being refined. Every time you chose prayer over panic, even with trembling hands, your inner foundation grew stronger. The chapter that is opening now requires a strength that comfort could never have produced. That is why some of your lessons came wrapped in loneliness. That is why some answers took longer than you expected. God was not punishing you. He was preparing you. He was teaching you how to hear Him without applause, how to trust Him without visible evidence, and how to keep moving without constant reassurance from people. The version of you that is stepping forward now has been shaped in hidden places. You have been forged where human validation could not reach you. The pain did not define you, but it did develop you. The battle did not destroy you, but it did reveal what heaven had already placed inside you. The Apostle Paul wrote in the letter to the Romans, chapter 5, verses 3 through 4. We also glory in tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance, character, and character, hope. This is why your suffering could not have the last word. It carried a lesson, and the lesson carried a transformation. What once felt heavy is becoming holy evidence that God has been at work in your life all along. Even the nights when you thought nothing was changing were part of the process. Seeds do not announce their growth while they are still under the soil. In the same way, much of what God formed in you happened quietly, deeply, and without spectacle. Yet now the fruit is beginning to show. Heaven also reminds you through the words in James, chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life. So do not despise the road that brought you here. The tears, the tests, the stretching, and the endurance were all preparing your shoulders to carry what is next. You are not weak because you struggled. You are stronger because God met you in that struggle and kept you standing. The chapter ahead will not be built on illusion. It will be built on the tested strength that was born in your hardest places. And that is why it will stand. Now the moment of decision stands before you with unusual weight, because the chapter God is opening cannot be entered casually. This is not the hour for half-hearted agreement. This is not the place for divided loyalty. You have already come too far, survived too much, and endured too many hidden battles to stop at the threshold of your own breakthrough. What stands in front of you now is not merely an opportunity, it is an act of divine alignment. God is drawing a line between the life you have outgrown and the life He is calling you to inhabit. That is why your spirit feels the pressure. Heaven is not trying to crush you. Heaven is trying to bring you into clarity. There are seasons when waiting is wisdom, but there are also moments when hesitation becomes resistance. You know the difference in your spirit. You can feel when God is asking for movement. You can sense when the old excuses no longer fit. When the fear that once looked reasonable now reveals itself as a chain. This is one of those moments. The enemy does not always attack by destruction. Sometimes he attacks by delay. He whispers that you need one more sign, one more guarantee, one more perfect condition before you obey. But if you keep demanding comfort before obedience, you may stand outside the very door that was meant to change your life. The voice of God thundered in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19. I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing, therefore choose life. That word is sharp because it removes the illusion that you are powerless. Tonight, the Lord is reminding you that your response matters. Your yes matters. Your obedience matters. The next chapter will not be unlocked by wishful thinking alone. It opens when you choose what feeds your spirit, when you choose what honors God, when you choose to walk away from patterns that kept you small, drained, distracted, or spiritually numb. Choosing life is not just about survival. It is about agreement with the future God prepared for you before fear ever tried to rename you. So stand firm in this holy crossing. Refuse to return to the mindset that kept you doubting yourself. Refuse to bow to the voice that tells you it is too late, too risky, or too impossible. God would not bring you to this gate just to leave you wandering outside it. The chapter ahead requires decision, and decision requires courage. But courage is already rising in you. The same hand that preserved you through the last season is now guiding you into the next one. Comment I choose light as a simple declaration that your spirit is agreeing with God's direction tonight. And if this message is deeply strengthening your walk, your donation becomes a meaningful way to help this voice keep reaching others who need this same confirmation at their own moment of decision. And now you begin to step into the chapter that was not manufactured by striving, but written by the hand of God. This is where the atmosphere changes around you. The fear that once pressed against your mind no longer speaks with the same authority. The doors before you are no longer approached with the old version of yourself, the one that begged for acceptance, shrank to fit small rooms, or doubted whether heaven truly had a place prepared for you. That version has been stretched, refined, and brought through fire. What stands here now is a soul that has been trained by surrender and steadied by truth. You are not entering this chapter as someone trying to become chosen. You are entering it as someone finally willing to walk like you are. This is why the transition feels both powerful and unfamiliar. Divine elevation often carries the discomfort of new responsibility. God is not merely giving you relief. He is entrusting you with movement, influence, discernment, and a deeper level of spiritual presence. The next chapter of your life is not just about what you receive, it is also about what you carry. Your words will begin to matter more. Your peace will become more guarded. Your decisions will have greater consequence. And your obedience will continue to open pathways that your own strength could never force open. What once seemed impossible begins to shift. Because you are no longer fighting for what God has already assigned. You are learning to walk in agreement with it. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 18. Verse 33. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer and sets me secure on the heights. That is the image over this moment. God is making you stable in places that once would have made you tremble. He is giving you footing where you once felt uncertain. He is teaching you how to stand at a higher level without being consumed by pride, fear, or confusion. The height is not for display, it is for vision. It is so you can see more clearly, discern more sharply, and move more confidently in the direction He has marked out for you. What used to intimidate you will no longer define your limits. What used to silence you will no longer steal your voice. The chapter is changing because your spiritual posture is changing. So keep walking with holy focus. Let your steps be guided, not rushed. Let your confidence come from God's presence, not from appearances. You do not need to force this season into existence because it is already unfolding under divine command. What belongs in this chapter will meet you as you move with God. What does not belong will fall away without needing your panic. You are being established, not entertained. You are being positioned, not distracted. And every obedient step is proving that the chapter ahead is strong enough to hold the weight of who you are becoming. And this is why you cannot return to the smaller version of yourself after tonight. Something irreversible has happened in the spirit. You have been carried through warning, preparation, decision, and movement. And now you stand marked by the hand of God for forward motion. The chapter opening before you is not fragile. It is not built on emotion alone. It is anchored in what God has spoken over your life. And what God speaks does not collapse when resistance appears. You are not leaving this moment with empty inspiration. You are leaving with identity sharpened, vision cleared, and strength restored for the road ahead. The chapter ahead is not just greater because it feels brighter. It is greater because you are entering it with deeper discernment, stronger faith, and a heart that has learned how to stay near the voice of God. What once tried to bury your confidence will now become part of your testimony. The battles that meant to exhaust you have instead revealed your endurance. The rejection that once cut deeply no longer defines your worth. The silence that once frightened you has taught you how to hear heaven more clearly. Nothing was random. Nothing was wasted. The same God who kept you in hidden places is now establishing your steps in open places. You are not merely recovering from the last season. You are rising with authority from it. There is a difference. Recovery brings you back to where you were. Authority carries you into where you were meant to be. The apostle reminds us in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 8. We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair. That is the seal over your life in this hour. Pressed, but not crushed, tested, but not abandoned, hit, but not destroyed. This is the evidence that God's hand has remained on you through every attack, every delay, and every night when you had to keep believing without visible proof. And because His hand has kept you, His purpose will also lead you. You do not step forward timidly now. You step forward crowned with survival, seasoned by obedience, and strengthened by grace. The darkness you faced could not erase what heaven placed within you. Your future is still breathing. Your calling is still alive. Your next chapter is already responding to your faith. So walk on with your head lifted and your spirit steady. Let every step announce that you belong to God, and that what He began in you will continue to unfold with power. Comment 538 below as your prophetic sign that you are stepping into the chapter God has written. And let that number stand as your witness that this night is not an ending, but a beginning. Even now, this message does not end like a road disappearing into the night. It remains like a lantern hung in the branches after a storm, quietly guiding the ones who are still finding their way home. If these words have rested on your spirit like dawn over broken ground, let your light be a gentle spark in the window, a silent sign that heaven's whisper found a living heart. Let your share become a trail of light through the trees, so another weary soul can discover they were never walking alone. Let your comment be a small stone set beside the river, marking the place where your faith rose again. Let your subscribe be like returning to a hidden garden where your spirit learns to breathe. And if love moves you to donate, let it be like placing oil in the lamp, so this flame can keep burning for hearts still searching in the dark.